Welcome to HeroQuest fans. It's January 12th, 2025. We're doing an unboxing of HeroQuest First Light, the new game system slash starter set. It's, at least in the United States, a Target exclusive. And I gotta say, I'm not too impressed with the rollout of this product so far. Just in the fact that it seems like they didn't really care that much. I mean, the guys that helped me out at my local Target were pretty cool. They went in the back, looked for it, but I'm hearing this story a lot. Yesterday or the day before, uh, they put the stuff out on the shelf. People tried to buy it, and then they'd go through the register, and it said, "Sorry, you can't buy it yet." So then the manager like pulled it off the shelf and put it in the back. That's one story I heard. Another is similar to mine, which is that you go in there, you look high and low through the game section. It's not anywhere. Doesn't exist. People don't know about it. Where is it? So you ask them, they look in the back for it, and I mean it's like 6, 7 o'clock at night, and it's still not put out yet. Of course, it is a Sunday, not a lot of people working there, but still, yeah. So I had to wait an hour for uh, one of the cool guys there to bring it out to me. So I got to buy it. I didn't have the experience of getting to pick it up off the shelf and buy it. I was kind of a little tiny bit of me was hoping that I could have the little nostalgic experience, but instead I had the experience of the pre-order person, pacing back and forth, waiting. Is it going to come or not? But other stores in the area had the same thing. But nevertheless, here it is, 50 bucks. As you can see, this is pretty much exactly what you've seen already in these unboxings that some of these influencers have done. So we've got this sticker here, which I guess will be a collector's item for people. Features detailed dragon miniature. It's just a sticker. And don't mind my neighbors there. So it's a very heavy box. And it's the size of an expansion box. Shrink wrapped. We got the on the back there, we got the red dice. And throughout, you're going to see me griping about the dice. There's just red dice referenced everywhere. But as we'll see inside in a moment, it is not, they're not red. So they sell lots of dice at Target, but just not the ones we're thinking of. So we're going to carefully open the box. So yeah, anyway, we've got it now. So we'll just peel off this plastic here. Kind of makes me want to compare. So these are sheets that I printed out myself. Other people scan these. These are from the Brazilian edition, so they actually use paper craft for some of the furniture. And then check these out. This is what the classic standees looked like. I mean, except for the base like that. That would have just been cut off there. Notice the white background versus black. So, there's other ways of doing this. And I think I'm going to do these, glue them to some chipboard and use them as an alternate. Of course, I could just use the regular plastic minis, so why bother? So we've looked at that, the character sheet. This is the quest book. Of course, it's full of spoilers. Everybody's seen Quest 1, right? They've totally spoiled it. They've shown it in multiple venues. We played it at Gen Con. So the border fort of Ingolden. So, yep, just they hold your hand throughout this. They show you everything. So we've already seen this, the alchemy reference. So this is not an alchemist shop. They just tell you these are the potions that are in the treasure deck. Your potion of defense, healing, potion of strength, heroic brew. But I mean, they slowly introduce it to you. This is for Zargon's Eyes only, talking about the storyline. You got your contents. So everything is the same as the game system, except for the dragon is the one edition. Everything here is what you had before, so it should be completely compatible with all the officially released expansions and then the ones that they're going to release. Crypt or Perpetual Darkness, Wizards of Morkar this year. So yeah, they show you what all the symbols are. Okay, so here are the new rules. This is page 6, and you may have seen this already. Some other streamers have covered it. Check them out. Always Bored Never Boring, Gorilla Miniatures, others. Blessings, curses, and treasure. There are various effects that may be bestowed on the heroes as they take on the quest. If a hero receives one, instruct them to mark it on their character sheet. So the Oracle's Blessing, use this ability to divine the future. Ask Zargon to lay out a room beyond an adjacent closed door. Or, after you roll attack, defend, or movement dice, you may re-roll all dice. You must keep the second result. After you use this ability, it disappears. So the Oracle's Curse, place the Mark of Zargon tile on your character sheet. Okay, so finally used for that mystery tile, which we showed before. Once per quest, Zargon may take the token from you and force you to re-roll all dice in a roll. Zargon then decides whether to use the new roll or keep the previous. Replace the Zargon token on your character sheet at the start of each quest. This curse may be removed if you donate 800 gold coins to charities providing care to injured civilians of the realm. Okay, so that's the other part. Injured civilians of the realm, which you may do between quests while visiting the armory. Glyph Key Scroll. Use this scroll at any time to destroy a discovered magical glyph. No action required. This scroll has no effect on magical glyphs disturbed by looting. After you use this scroll, it disappears. Okay. So I guess these are these quest treasures. The Hearthkin Horn. Oh yes. So no cards for these. Use an action to blow this horn. Each hero places a skeleton on any square in their same room or corridor. Each hero controls their own skeleton, and the skeletons move after their designated hero's turn. Hearthkin skeletons roll white shields to defend from hits. At the end of the quest, they return to their resting place. So there you've got the stats. So a friendly undead. Of course, we all already had the Bone Wand in the Mage of the Mirror, so it's not completely new, but it is cool that they last more than just one turn. After you use this horn, it crumbles to dust and disappears. Although in the app, you can basically just keep using it forever because the app is very loose. It's on the honor system, and that's fine. Yeah, version 4.3 of the HeroQuest companion app, it's free and ad-free, just collects your data. That one has restored all 10 of the First Light quests, but there don't seem to be any new additions since 4.0 or 4.1. So, okay, so they talk about some of these rules that we've seen in other expansions, but were never printed in the game system booklet before. Because again, this is an alternate game system designed by Stephen Baker, the OG. Shout out to him. Glad he's still working with the company. It's awesome. Okay, so we got the entrance and exit doors. Those are familiar to anyone who's played Keller's Keep, Return of the Witch Lord. Large monsters that take up 2 squares. They can attack any of the surrounding 10 squares. Easily explained. So dread spells, we already know about that. Not all of them will be used in the 12 quests. They say that in the How to Play video. Monsters without mind points are immune to spells that use mind points. Now, not always, but at least the ones that are in the regular spell deck for the heroes. The earth, air, fire, and water. Unthreatened movement. So there's no monsters on the board. You can just move 4 squares for every red die you'd normally move. Now here they don't talk about red dice. They talk about movement. 2 dice. So they never say red dice here. But we know the red dice as the D6 with the pips on it that you roll for movement as opposed to the combat dice. Item exchange. You can pass. I think I'm just going to read through this real quick here. Okay, you have to be adjacent to another hero, and neither is adjacent to a monster. Okay, double-sided game board. Okay, Healing Hearth. When a hero would draw a treasure card in a room containing a fireplace, they may instead heal 1 body point. So, looks like everybody could heal from that. Sly Storage. Only the first hero to search for treasure draws 2 treasure cards. Doesn't say they get a choice. I would assume that means if there's no note, but maybe not. It doesn't say that. It's kind of like what doesn't it say? Quindrak the Warlock. Each time the heroes encounter him, He assumes one of these forms. Okay, and then the dragon. So this is kind of a spoiler already. So the dragon form, he can take partial movement, perform an action, then finish its movement. That's Draconic Flight. We already knew about that. He can move through squares occupied by heroes and monsters, but he can't end his movement in one of those squares. Tips for Zargon. We recommend reading through the quest notes and studying the map before starting a quest. Good idea. Feel free to adapt and change quests to make the most fun challenge possible for your heroes. Oh yes, we will. So this is the message from Mentor. Yeah, and they do have undetectable traps already. Okay, so we're going to look through non-spoiler here. So there's 10 quests. Everything seems the same. There is a midpoint. They do use the arena rules, sort of. Basically, it's just like the Hearthkin Horn, except each hero gets a different kind of monster to control, and you're fighting against other monsters. And then at the end of the battle, whoever survived, now you've got to fight them. Back to Zargon's control. Still, though, they use the arena tiles, the arena square, so that's kind of a cool thing. So the Caverns board is the reverse side of the board, and it's used every other quest. I think that's pretty much it. I think okay, no, it's not 100% true. I was thinking like all the even-numbered quests use the Cavern board, but not necessarily. It kind of gets mixed up. But yeah, you're supposed to play all 10 in order. Difficulty-wise, they look harder than most of the game system quests, but more in line with the other expansions previously released. So there's the dragon in the monster description. Mysterious, intelligent, destructively powerful, these creatures do not populate the realm as they did in times gone by. We do know their foremost allegiance is to themselves. So it talks about Draconic Flight. Looks like the descriptions of the other monsters are basically the same. If there's any minor changes, I'm just not seeing them without a side-by-side comparison. So you got all that. There's the create your own quest thing at the end. See, as cool as those adventure design kit sheets were, you don't really need them. You've got this, right? And once this is released in digital format, you'll just be able to easily do that yourself. But they didn't include every single tile that's used in First Light. They didn't show the gradings. Oh, but they do have I think we showed earlier pictures of this. Sorry, Doug. But also thank you, Doug. And there's the back of the booklet. Again, other people have done this, but it's kind of a fun thing going through it. So this is probably the crowning achievement right here. Just kidding. But the rule book has been broken down and simplified to really help out the first time player. They're not assuming you know anything about the game. They're not assuming the standards of 1990 are supreme. So there's a story. This seems to be basically the same story, just told in another format here. Telling about the legendary heroes Rogar, Durgan, Ladril, and Telor. The original 4 heroes that defeated Zargon back in the day. But he's come back, so you've been summoned. But yeah, as others have covered, this campaign takes place at the same time as the regular game system. So it's kind of like another group of heroes is having adventures somewhere else. But you could always rearrange the quests. You could play some of the game system, jump into this, jump back and forth if you wanted. But there's nothing wrong with starting with a fresh character sheet playing. So we've got the object of the game. I'm sure other people are going to go through this with a fine-tooth comb and find lots of little things that I didn't notice. But we've already seen quite a bit of it before. Been here before. Welcome back. There are no rule changes from the 2021 HeroQuest game system. Well, there you go. I can just put this away. However, First Light includes 10 new quests, dragon miniature and game card. The dwarf's starting weapon is a hand axe instead of a short sword. 4 unique hero miniatures, double-sided game board with differentiated layout. And then it just kind of describes how to play the game. There's how the bases work. It's transparent plastic bases. And yeah, those tiles are pretty thick. I would say if you want to kind of look at that, it's pretty thick. Is it thicker than the regular tile? Just a little bit. It's a little bit thicker than these game tiles. But again, it's smooth. So these are the doors, not the band. But you got the same exact number of open and closed doors. Of course, it's a black void now. So you don't have to punch out the little hole and worry about the whole thing bending. So I guess that's an improvement over the original design in a way, even if it doesn't look as cool. You've got the treasure chest and the throne. You've got the abominations, which replaced the Fimir, or the Fimir from the original. And it's all smooth. Okay, we'll continue looking through the quest book, just see if anything cool pops out at us. Anything that might look different. Okay, so it's got a fold-out section. We've seen that. They actually show you a picture of what it's supposed to look like when you set everything up. And there you can see the board. It kind of looks a little bit like the prototype board on the back of the European game box. So if you look it up online, if you don't have it, the original 1989 version that came out in Europe, if you look on the back of the box, it shows a board and pieces that look very little like the actual contents. Like the art is different. The miniatures have round bases and they're metal painted to look like plastic. The dice have different images on them. The cards are missing text. It's a prototype. And if you want to see more of that, watch go on YouTube or wherever and watch the original Hero Quest commercials. Hero Quest, Roadshow, those. Check them out, whether it's the American version or the European version or whatever. Well, various versions. But it's all the same footage and it shows the prototype version. So the artwork's different. You can see text on the cards is different. Like Fire of Wrath can only be used against furniture. And the art is in color, so it's totally different. But it's kind of interesting. But this could be a tribute, a little bit of a tribute to that. Let's see the dice. Where are the dice? Oh, there they are. So the movement dice. They consistently call them the movement dice instead of the red dice, because the original it's like, well, the white dice are combat dice, the red dice are movement dice. But here they just call them the movement dice. I suppose if you lose these, you could just grab any bog standard D6 dice and use them in the game. But yeah, they explain the different types of cards, what they're for, and some of the stuff gets a little more use than the original game system, but not a whole lot. So a lot of the stuff is still going to be a surprise for the expansion quests, the other expansion boxes, or if you make your own quests. So there, of course, are the heroes. And yes, the dwarf starts with a hand axe instead of short sword, just making him slightly different than the elf. People pointed out that two-handed pose of the female elf is like the two-handed pose of the elf in the original version's card art. Because in the original version of Hero Quest, you had these big tiles, these big cardboard tiles that were for each character. And then here they've turned them into poker size cards. But yeah, that pose of the miniature is nostalgic, even though it's a female elf and she's wearing plate armor, which doesn't have boot plate on the chest. Of course, wizard has a beard and fire in his hand, slightly different pose. That dwarf looks really cool to me, less like a giant baby. The barbarian, I mean, he's doing the Hulk Hogan, pointing thing. He's not standing on rocks. They're all cool designs. I still like the originals, but the 2021 version is kind of in between. It's a little nostalgic, but a little exaggerated in places. Okay, it explains combat. That's good. I like how they break everything down. They don't just assume that you know it or you know this type of game. There's some beautiful red dice once again. It's like they changed their minds at the last minute or something. Or maybe they got a lot of feedback. Maybe people said, you know what, I really want white movement dice instead. It's like, okay, let's make it happen. Or maybe they produced a whole bunch of them and realized they had to sell them. Note from Zargon to the heroes. Yeah, that's basically the same as before. Just the stuff is just rearranged in a more player-friendly, user-friendly manner to kind of break the stuff down to you slowly. It's like, there's how you move. So it's kind of like you could go from 0 to this game. Okay, there's the infamous picture of how line of sight works in this game. So if we get it. So there you go. So clear line of sight is what's important. So you can see through the doorway to hit those orcs. You can't see through the closed door, so you got the dotted line. Although they're saying, so Space Crusade players would hate this, but it's like, yeah, you can shoot straight through the edge of the wall and hit that orc. Whereas this other orc, it's like, nah, can't really hit him up here because the edge is kind of in the way. And then this orc here, yeah, you can dodge the edge of the other hero and hit him. Whereas this one he's behind, like you'd have to shoot through your friend to hit that orc, so you can't hit him. Of course, when would you hit him? Well, when you're firing the crossbow, throwing a dagger, or casting a spell. Now, of course, a lot of these things they tell you, oh, monsters can never do this, they can never do that. There's always exceptions. You buy an expansion, gives you a monster that can walk through walls. Okay. Gives you a monster that can open doors. Great. Whatever it happens to be. Explains combat. Attacking diagonally from a safe position. See, they even tell you, block the door. They tell you how to do this, so it's not cheating. All right. Yeah, I'm not reading every bit of this, but I'm sure people will find more things. Deep dives out there. So there's jumping a pit trap. These pages are a little more matte finish than some of the other booklets. It's like it was shiny, a little too shiny. I'm just worried about, fingerprints and sweat and all that nasty stuff on here ruining your booklet, because you're going to be using this probably a lot. So it explains everything. Dead heroes. As a hero, if you die, you're out of the game for the rest of the quest. You may rename your hero and play them as a new character in the next quest. Armor, weapons, and treasures that belong to you prior to death can be picked up by any other hero in the room with you. No action required. Warning! If there are no other heroes in the room or corridor with you when you die, a nearby monster skulks in, snatches your possession, and absconds. The possessions are removed from the game and cannot be recovered. Okay, so this answers a long-standing question: does a monster actually have to walk into the room to steal your stuff? According to this, it just happens automatically. So if you die by yourself, all your stuff is gone. I guess that would happen if you fell into a trap or drew a hazard card and it killed you. Here we go. How a hero escapes death. As a hero, if your body points have been reduced to 0, there are 2 ways to save yourself. If you possess any life-restoring potion, such as a healing potion, you immediately drink it and raise your body points above 0. If you are a spellcaster with an available healing spell, if you have not already performed an action on your turn, you can cast a spell on yourself and raise your body points above 0. After your body points have reached 0, you can't be saved by a fellow hero's spell or potion. Okay, it doesn't answer the question of what happens if you die when it's Zargon's turn. Can you still cast the spell? Some Zargons would say yes, some would say no. So they still leave it up to you to decide. Because most of the time you're going to die on Zargon's turn. Like I said, unless you happen to fall into a trap or draw a hazard card. Of course, then you've already used an action to search for treasure, right? Running out of monsters. So it tells you, since you're using cardboard standees, these are the green monsters: orcs, goblins, and abominations. These are the white monsters, or the undead: the skeleton, zombie, and mummy. These are the gray monsters: dread warrior and gargoyle. I thought that was kind of clever. Because, yeah, you look at these pictures and you have no idea. You're just like, what monster is that? Is that gray? Green? Quest ends when you achieve the goal and reach the exit, or in some cases return to the entrance. The heroes voluntarily return to the entrance before completing the quest, or all 4 heroes die. See, notice how much time I'm spending on this. Like, I barely have touched this stuff at all because this is what's most interesting to me. Even though this is the easiest to change. Like, you can just chuck this aside and just do your own thing. Trip to the armory. Unfinished quest. Lost artifacts. Okay. So once again, this is another area of contention between HeroQuest players. What happens if you lose an artifact? Well, it starts out, it is sometimes required that the heroes have a specific artifact in their possession before they continue on to the next quest. Zargon, if a hero dies while in possession of an artifact, and your monsters steal the artifact, you must include the artifact as a special treasure early in the next quest. But which ones are actually necessary? I think the Spirit Blade is maybe the only one for most of the time. I mean, at a certain point later on, yes, some of the expansions, certain ones will be required. But this to me says instead of forcing the heroes to repeat the entire quest to find the Talisman of Lore again, you just say, okay, fine. Next quest, you find it early in the quest. So that could mean anything. Zargon has a lot of oversight. You search for treasure. Oh, yeah, you find 50 gold coins. Oh, and here's the Talisman of Lore. Great. You get that discretion. Trip to the armory. Okay, component reference. So here you've got the Dungeon Grate. See that? Never used before. The Eye of Mentor. These have always been included in the box in the remake version, but they've just never been given a name and function. Mark of Zargon. So they just kind of compare everything for you to show you what it is. The quest is calling. Okay, just kind of a fun little poster, and that's that. So this, of course, is the infamous board, the 6 Hexfold 2024, made in China. Oh, you can smell that plastic cardboard combination. It's very smooth, very shiny. So this will be not good for streaming. I've already printed my own board to use instead. But you can see it's got the, other people have done this exact thing that I'm doing right now, but you can see me do it. So that is what the cavern board looks like. See this? This is the arena. This is just like in Against the Ogre Horde, except it's part of the board. And this board definitely feels thinner than the 2021 board. It's more like a typical game board. I mean, I always felt like the new HeroQuest was like a deluxe game. This is just like a average game. But I mean, it still has a good feel to it. If I didn't have the other game, I wouldn't think anything of it. I'm just comparing it. So there's kind of what it looks like, the regular game board. So the artwork is different, but the shapes of the rooms are all exactly the same. There's the exact same number of squares. It's 19 by 26, 1-inch squares, so 25.4 millimeters each square. And that means that the miniatures fit comfortably inside each square. And there's the glimpse of the miniatures. Where is it? Oh, there's the boot tile. Thank you, Doug. So, yep. It's in a different spot, but, you know, I'll allow it. I'll let it go. It's good. I like the fact that they did do little tributes and things. There's going to be the weak point of all these multi-fold boards. Looks like it could be a weak point. But anyway, you buy yourself another one. Because it's not a limited edition exclusive. It's not a limited run product. It is meant to be, yep, the sad truth right there. Oh man. So I personally prefer, I mean, even though you've got this little candy tray here, look how cute that is. I prefer something like that. Why couldn't it have been this? Oh well. Anyway, this is exactly what it looked like at Gen Con. I mean, really though, everything looks the same. The only thing is we didn't have the rule book. We couldn't see the quest. Well, we weren't supposed to see the quest book. We didn't have this box because they basically had tossed it because it was the Clark Mitchell AI or allegedly AI art that everyone hated. So we got this instead. So here's the miniatures. Let's see, compare it to the plastic of some of the others. So there's a Guardian Knight. It's a little bit lighter colored red, but I mean, not much different. It's just probably just another batch of plastic. Is it bendy? Yes, of course it is. So, but no bent sword. He's got the finger poke of doom. So that's a barbarian, and it came out real easy. No difficulty manhandling these. I mean, I think if you turn it upside down, they're just going to fall right out. Yep, they will. That dwarf looks pretty cool to me. Makes me think of Warhammer. It says dwarf on the bottom. I know, it's out of focus. Okay, that one I had to pull a little hard. Okay, so there's the wizard with his awesome beard and his flaming fire hand. And there's some black schmutz on the end of his staff. I don't think that comes standard. That's just like somebody had a marker or something and just like tapped it. Maybe they had grease on their finger at the factory. So give these a good wash down before you paint them, before you play with your kids. There's the elf. So that's a sharp, pointy sword. You could hurt somebody with that. You poke an eye out. See, is this one pointy? So ages 14 and up, not as bad. It's more give to it. Hand axe. Of course, if you throw the hand axe, now you're fighting with your fists. So, and of course, this is the dragon. Ooh, prickly, pointy. And, yep, if you hold it up to the light, you can see, let's see if you can see you can see through the wings. It's not really going to work with this light. But yeah, if you hold it up to a bright light, you're going to see through the wings a little bit. I thought that was kind of cool, actually. But yeah, it's a silvery gray. This is a silvery gray figure. It's like a metallic, like gunmetal, kind of maybe a dark bronze gray, as opposed to just regular gray. And yes, it's bendy, and he's got a kind of a triceratops. Actually, his head is. Oh, there's a little bit of schmutz on there from the factory. Yeah, he's doing the test of strength pose. He's got the ram's horns, and then he's got like a triceratops thing going on. He's got a lot of horns. 7 horns. Yeah, and he's got the tail. But as you'll find out in the story, this is not just your average dragon. This is basically someone transforming into a dragon. So a little bit of a spoiler there. Not too bad. But yeah, trust me, the quests are fun. The ones we've seen and played they're great. Okay, so here's the big plastic bag full of these bases. It's taped shut. See, I like those Japanese ones that just have the little resealable bag at the bottom. Man, you have to rip it apart. Okay, there we go. So these are pretty solid, pretty thick. They're like acrylic. So let's take this value down and let's punch one of these out. So it punches out pretty easy. Thick door there, and we'll just kind of insert it, and it's probably going to make a big groove on it there. Yep. So there you can see that it's been used. But that is how it works. So you got your heroes. Oh, there's a door. Open the door. Well, it's already open. Anyway, so that's how that works. So you've got enough of these bases, it looks like, for everything in the box. Just kind of pretend that we didn't punch that out. Do it later. I mean, I probably won't even use these. Some people were saying, well, you could use these as dead monsters, like and then use the plastic figures for the monsters that are alive. I guess so. You could do that. So let's look at these dice. So as you can see, these are not the regular white combat dice. These actually have kind of like an ivory or bone color to them. And actually, these are the best looking combat dice outside of the transparent ones that I've ever seen. I mean, the design is like perfect. All the lions have like the full face. They aren't like missing a nose. They aren't like off center. The black shields are completely black. They really quality tested this. Wow. I mean, okay, that one's not quite perfect, but pretty darn close. I mean, they were really hit and miss with the 2021 system. Now, to be fair, the retail version, the 2022 version, was improved, but these are great. These look awesome. And most of the time, you're going to forget that they're even bone colored. I mean, they're not bright white. These are bright white. So these dice almost have kind of a matte finish to them. They're not shiny, which is fine. I kind of prefer that anyway. They're going to get shiny enough as they've been rolled and held by sweaty hands for hours and hours. And these, wow, these are really lazy in my opinion. These are just your bog standard like white D6 dice that you could buy with any board game, except they happen to have red pips. It's a little bit of a bleed over there. It's like instead of painting them black, they just painted them red. So, like I said, they could have given us this. This is actually the HasLab red dice, except I just painted the pips shiny gold. And yeah, it's not as easy to paint them by hand as you think and actually make it look good, but on the table it looks fine. But anyway, okay, this was the thing that everybody was talking about, and I talked about it too, is the original game had these inner boxes, right? You could use these as dice trays. You know, oh, it's not really held together. I mean, it's not even taped, but you could, hey, you could roll the dice in there like that if you wanted, or you could just roll it. Just a lot of people roll on the board, but I think it's nicer to roll in a box. Everybody can see the results. They don't go flying. They don't knock stuff over. This it's flimsy as well, but it's actually not too bad. This is just a space filler box, but you could use it as a dice tray. You know, it's not $50 or anything, but it works. I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes. Just kidding. So, all right. So they gave you a dice tray. How nice. I mean, this thing's going to get beat up after a while. So, but yeah, this is to tide you over until you buy the real game system. But it's got some tweaks. Okay, now let's go through the cards while my voice holds out. So you got your tape loop or paper loop. I like these. I'm glad they don't use rubber bands because rubber bands deteriorate, or they could shrink wrap it and kind of like warp everything. Okay, so these cards are nice and slippery. I would say these have the same like, whoa, sorry about that. These kind of have the same linen finish that the game system had, the 2021 game system. So they're poker size. I'm just going to go through them basically and see if anything jumps out at me as being different in this version as opposed to, oh yeah, this is where all the cardboard would go, because once you punch everything out, you throw away the excess and then you just pile it up in here. Too bad they don't give you a bag to put them in. So you could get a bag. So you got this candy tray for the minis. Okay, yeah, let's go through and just see if anything jumps out as being different. Okay, so you got your toolkit. The descriptions are different. Everything's kind of like worded differently, but the basics are the same. So we got the barbarian. Do it like this, barbarian. Dwarf has the hand axe, of course. Elf, wizard. These reference cards are new. These existed in the 2021 version, but it was kind of worded slightly different, and it didn't have this whole thing on the back about combat. telling you how combat works. So that's kind of cool to have by your side. So you got 4 of these, so you can just be looking that over to remind yourself, because people want to get into the game, right? They don't want to just be sitting there reading the rules over, memorizing it, studying it, doing homework until it's time to play. Okay, so they all say it may be used once per quest, but we knew that. We knew the spells were once per quest, but it says it explicitly on there. So Genie's the same. Swift Wind is the same. Tempest is the same. Is that art different? I'm forgetting what the remake art even looks like. I think it's the same art. Okay, Heal Body is the same, of course. Pass Through Rock. Same. Don't end your movement inside solid rock. Rock Skin lasts until you take damage, so it's the same. Ball of Flame. It's the same. Courage. Of course, these all say 2024 on them. Courage. This is the controversial one. So this spell may be cast on any one hero in your line of sight, including yourself. The next time that hero attacks, they roll. The next time that hero attacks. The next time that hero attacks. Okay, that's the same. They roll 2 additional attack dice. Okay, so far so good. The spell ends after this attack. That's different. After this attack, so it's good for 1 attack only. Or the moment that hero has no monster in their line of sight. So I guess if you cast it on somebody and there's no monsters, it just fizzles out. You wasted it. So that kind of sucks. I think they really nerfed it. I don't like this. But to be fair, this rendition of Courage is much more similar to how it was in the very first version of HeroQuest, the 1989 version. Of course, in that one, Rock Skin was only good for 1 defense. Courage was good for 1 attack, but it didn't have this, well, if the monsters dodge out of the way, it just goes away. So, I don't know. Maybe they thought it was too powerful. They didn't intend it to be that powerful. But there you go. So Fire of Wrath is the same. I mean, the text is different. The text is it singes you. Oh yeah. Let me just check something. I'm pretty sure Tempest has no lore text to it. It doesn't really tell you how the spell works. It just says could be cast on a monster in your line of sight. Target misses their turn. It doesn't say they're engulfed in a small whirlwind or anything like that. You know, the little lore text, the flavor text. I kind of missed that. Well, so Rock Skin, Ball of Flame, Courage, Fire of Wrath, Sleep. This spell cannot be cast on targets with 0 mind points, so it explicitly does not work on undead. So in the very original version of HeroQuest from '89, the thought was, oh, undead monsters are immune to these. No, the monsters have no defense against it. So if you cast it on a skeleton, well, that skeleton's screwed. But in the North American version and this version, they're immune. So undead have an ability, as opposed to just they have no defense against it. So there's your water spells. So Veil of Mist is the same. Water of Healing is the same. The gem. Okay, so you get little lore on the treasure cards. So it says this will go towards the armory fund. Do not return it to the treasure deck. Now there were different rules for everything. So in the '89 version, the very original version, I mean, you put the treasure cards back in the deck every time you found them. So you could keep coming up with the same thing. I mean, you're supposed to shuffle them thoroughly, but the later versions, second European edition, 1990, and then the North American version, 90, and so on, they just said, yeah, you discard the cards, except for the bad cards go back in and get shuffled. There's the gem. So there's like 2 of each. What luck! Next to the gold. While skimming your hand along the wall, you find a loose stone. So, it's not the same nostalgic text, but it's just kind of freshened up, changed a little bit. So you got your 25, you got your 15. One adventurer's trash is another's treasure. That crunching noise did not sound good. So there's your hazard. Same. I mean, it's the spikes. That's a tribute to the European version because the spiked pit was the European hazard. There was just one of them, whereas the North American version, you just fall in a hole, but it's like you've already got a pit trap. So I kind of like how they combined it. So again, not much has changed. This is more just me doing commentary on the HeroQuest remake itself. Was that a tripwire? So you got the arrow hazard. It's the same. They're the same mechanically. Fortify your fighting spirit, brave hero. So there's a heroic brew. 2 attacks to start instead of 1. As with all potions, this can only be used once. Okay, so no further explanation of that. Doesn't seem like anyone's coming back for this. It's jewels. 50 gold coins. I know, it's not, I'm not giving you like a super up close view of each card, but you've seen these before. Potion of defense. See, yeah, this was like the same. If you think of the original version of HeroQuest 1989, the potions and the spells were basically the same thing, except that these were just random, and then the spells you brought with you, quest after quest. In later editions, they try to change them up. So Courage lasts as long as you can see monsters. Rock Skin lasts as long as you don't take any damage. I thought that was cool. And you could combine Swift Wind with Potion of Speed. Okay, so there's a Potion of Healing. It's the same as before, and as with the North American version, there's 4 of these. So these cards are the same exact distributions as the 2021 version. You probably get tired of me hearing me say that, but it's true. Potion of Strength is the same, just different text. Wandering Monster, the hair on the back of your neck stands up. Okay, so it says Zargon places the Wandering Monster listed in the quest notes on any square adjacent or diagonal to you. Okay, or diagonal. The monster immediately attacks. Well, the thing is, though, if you place them diagonal, they can't attack you because monsters can't attack diagonally, except certain monsters later. So that's kind of a weird thing, but I don't know. Zargon could read that a different way. Say, oh, they could just get to attack diagonally this time. I guess so that you can't avoid the monster because you can. So the heroes have a little bit of a cheat they can do. You can back yourself into a corner and then surround yourself with the other heroes so that when you search for treasure and you get a wandering monster, that monster can't attack you because he's blocked. The monster has to appear here. It's like, I can't get to this guy. So, I don't know. It's not really cheating. I think, to me, it's just playing smart. Believe me, the later expansions give Zargon lots of tricks to trip up the heroes and make their lives miserable. So there's your wandering monsters. I'm sure there's other little details like this people will find, because, I mean, I'm just going through these quickly. Relatively quickly. Borin's armor can be combined with a helmet or shield, may not be used by the wizard. They call it armor. Legendary plate mail. Legends of the great warrior Borin can oft be heard throughout the realm. Elixir of life. Do not waste even a drop. A life is at stake. Yeah, it says it can be administered to a dead hero. Now, you could take that administered to a dead hero. Administered, because in the later expansions they talk about administering potions. That means you actually have to be adjacent to them. And there can't be any monsters adjacent. If you take that literally in light of the other expansions, that's how it works. Because we are never given any explanation of how the elixir works. It's just kind of whatever you think it does. So you're just like, you know what? I've been missing the barbarian for a while. Let's just bring him back. Well, he died like 3 quests ago. Oh, well, he's back. He disappears in the room next to you. Is he naked? Does he have any equipment? I guess not. But this kind of makes it sound like, okay, the hero dies in the same quest. Well, what if they fall into a bottomless chasm? Well, there aren't any in this booklet, but how would you get their body back? I don't know. So I think there's still room for Zargon to do what he thinks is best. But this administered kind of implies what they thought it should be. That you really walk up to the body and do that. Fortune's Longsword. Once per quest, you may use its power to reroll 1 attack die. So that has not changed. This was added. This was never part of the original game system from the from any of the versions until 2021. But I mean, the Mythic had this, the Heroic had this, the Retail had this, so this is the same. So First Light gives you more of the same, so you don't have to worry. You're not missing anything. Orc's Bane. So this has changed. While wielding this weapon, roll 2 attack dice. You may attack twice if your target is an orc. So if your target is an orc. Well, I guess it really doesn't say it on here, but the designers have said in public that they intended the Orc's Bane only works against a single orc. So if you have 2 orcs, you can't just like hit one and then hit the other. Although I always thought that was a cool way to use Orc's Bane. So I kind of don't like that, but I guess the card doesn't force you into that interpretation. I mean, you can do whatever you want when you play. Have your own house rules. Ignore what the designers say, but anyway, Phantom Blade. So that was, let's see. Yeah, it's the same. Ring of Return, it's the same. Ring of Fortitude, the same. Rod of Telekinesis, it's the same. I mean, all they've done is add like little lore or flavor text to each one. Dazzling flashes of light leap from the gem and encase the target. Now, of course, some of these, if you've only played the original Hero Quest, you may never have heard of these. So the Rod of Telekinesis, Ring of Fortitude, Phantom Blade, Fortune's Longsword, those are all things that were added by Avalon Hill in 2021 to the game. They didn't exist in earlier versions. So just extra artifacts. And you don't find them in any of the regular quests. You find them in the expansions. Got the Spell Ring. The spell may not be cast twice on the same turn. At the beginning of each quest, you must declare which spell is stored in the ring. I mean, seems like it's just clarifying what was always there. Spirit Blade is the same. Talisman of Lore is the same. It's only 1 mind point in the North American version, as it is here. The Wand of Magic has 2 different spells available to you on 1 turn. Now, it doesn't say it can only be used by the wizard. So, I guess if the Warlock has this, the Warlock gets to use 2 of their spells. Let's look at because you have more magical caster characters now than just the elf and the wizard, as in the original game. Cast one of the spells you know twice. So that could have some interesting things. Of course, those other spellcasting heroes, you have to buy expansions to get them, because you've just got the classic 4 here. Wizard's Cloak is the same. Wizard's Staff is the same. Can only be used by a wizard. Of course, they do say with the Warlock hero, well, if it says only wizard, it means Warlock as well. So the Abomination, same monster as always in the new edition. Dread Warrior is the Chaos Warrior. Abomination was the Famir. Gargoyle, Goblin, Mummy, Orc. Notice how they only have 1 design on here of each monster, even though there's multiple character designs. Skeleton, Zombie, and there's the Dragon. There's the new one. So we've seen the stats before, but there they are. 10, 5, 5, 7, 6. The dragon uses Draconic Flight and may cast Ball of Flame at will. So we saw that at Gen Con. They can do Ball of Flame at will. So every single turn is pretty powerful. And his stats will vary every time you see him. It's not necessarily always what's on the card, as is the case with any monster. I mean, you can have named characters in Hero Quest that are different. So here's the Ball of Flame. That's the monster version. Same mechanics as before. Cloud of Dread, which was Cloud of Chaos in the original. It's the same. Command. Okay, Command is nerfed, because it says a spell may be cast on any one hero in the caster's line of sight to force them under Zargon's control. The spell can be broken at once or on a future turn by the hero rolling 1 movement die for each of their mind points. On a roll result of 6, the spell is broken. Until the spell is broken, the hero cannot move on their own turn On Zargon's turn, they can take the hero's movement and weapon attack. And weapon attack. So according to this, in First Light, they don't intend you to be using potions, using spells. I would have taken it as you can use attack spells maybe, but you can't, cast pass a rock on yourself and run into a wall. Nothing like that. But yeah, weapon attack. So does that mean if you take over the monk, like you can't punch? I don't know. But as before, Zargon gets to decide. So if the rules aren't clear or you don't like them, you can change them. Escape. Okay. That's the same as before. Fear. It's the same. I did this exact same thing at Gen Con, except I was going a lot slower. Firestorm. It's the same. Lightning Bolt. Can be straight or diagonal. Continues to a wall. Yep, it's the same. Rust. This causes one metal sword or helmet. Someone's going to be pedantic and say it doesn't say metal sword or metal helmet. It just says helmet. But I think the intention is clear. It's metal sword or helmet, just like the original version. In the hero's possession to rust and decay, becoming useless. Rust and decay. Can never be used again. Spell is not effective against artifacts. So this whole thing about metal armor was something that was added in the Avalon Hill version, the remake of 2021. Before that, the rust thing did say metal sword or helmet, but there aren't any non-metal helmets. There aren't any non-metal swords. But I guess if you wanted to do one, Doug's suggestion about the ultra rare wooden helmet, kind of a cool idea, that was immune to rust. Sleep, it's the same. Again, these are the dread spells for the bad guys. Summon orcs. Yeah, it just says they surround and protect the spellcaster. Doesn't say they attack immediately, so that's the same as before. Summon undead, same as before. Tempest. Okay, so the bad guy one does have some lore text. It says this spell may be cast on any one hero in the caster's line of sight to trap them in a blustery whirlwind. Well, at least we got a blustery whirlwind. But I guess the hero version probably encases a monster in a blustery whirlwind. Battle Axe. It's the same as before, so that now we're into equipment. So everything's the same. That might be centered slightly different, but it's basically the same mechanically and artistically. 2 copies of the Battle Axe. So we've got the duplicates again. Remember that? So exact same number of cards. Nothing new in here except for the dragon. Bracers, very expensive bracers, of course. Armor can be combined with the helmet and or shield. So these were imported from the European version, but they're adjusted. They're not wizard only. Got the broadsword. It's the same. Chainmail is the same. Crossbow. Okay, people were saying the crossbow's different. Weapon. While wielding this long-range weapon, roll 3 attack dice. You may fire at any monster in your line of sight. Oh, instead of monster you can see. But I don't know. I just feel like that's nitpicking because if you look at that diagram that we looked at earlier, that tells you what seeing is. You may be able to see a monster in the room, but your buddy's in the way. So you can't shoot through your buddy to hit the guy on the other side. But I guess some people would say, well, I mean, he's on the board. I can see him, so I can shoot him. That's maybe how other editions were, but the North American version has been much more strict on the line of sight rule. So they don't differentiate line of sight, line of fire from seeing. It's just kind of pretty much the same thing. But anyway, it says line of sight except for monsters adjacent to you. So the designers have clarified that they believe and they want you to play, they intend that when you're shooting at monsters, if I was going to just pull it out and show you, but north, south, east, and west you can't shoot at, but the 4 diagonals that are close to you, you can shoot those. Of course, then it's like, why would you buy the longsword? So I don't know. But that's how they do it. Me personally, I have a house rule. I just say the surrounding squares you can't shoot, but anything out from there, 1 square removed from where you are, you can shoot those. as long as it's you can trace a straight line. But anyway, that's just different interpretations. You can craft your own arrows, so you have an unlimited supply. Okay, so they made up a reason why. So you're crafting arrows as you play. May not be used by the wizard. So that's slightly different, not too different. 2 copies of the crossbow. We got the dagger. Can be thrown at any monster in your line of sight, but is lost forever once thrown. Okay, so instead of saying see, they're saying line of sight. Okay, fine. Trying to be more uniform. The hand axe was tweaked. Of course, this was originally a European thing. It was in the new version too, but they forgot to say that it can't be used by the wizard. So the wizard could use it. So then in the reprinted version in 2022, they said cannot be used by the wizard. It's 200 gold. So yeah, we've seen that before. Okay, helmet just says the word metal. That's all that changed in Rise of the Dread Moon in the 2022 version. So it's the same here. 2, 3 helmets because the wizard can't wear it. Holy water. Oh, we don't get any lore text. As an action, use the holy water to kill 1 mummy, skeleton, or zombie. Discard this card after use. Of course, we have skull blights and specters and other expansions, and they say, yeah, holy water can kill any monster that has 0 mind points, basically. So 400 gold. I personally prefer it as a treasure, but see, again, I'm getting into nitpick territory. That's equipment. Originally, it was just a treasure. You couldn't buy it. Longsword. You can attack diagonally, so there's 2 of those. Plate mail. Heavy metal armor. Due to its impressive weight, you may only roll 1 movement die while wearing it. Doesn't say it subtracts 1, it just says only 1. May be combined with the helmet and or shield, may not be worn by the wizard. So basically the same, just worded slightly different. Okay, here's a change. Potion of speed, silver effervescent tincture. Drink this potion to roll twice as many movement dice on your next movement. You may not use more than 1 of these potions per turn. Okay, but you could combine it with Swift Wind. Ha. Okay, shield, armor, may not be used with the battle axe or staff. It's the same. 2 shields, 3 shields total. Short sword, it's the same. Staff's the same. Toolkit is the same. Okay, that took forever. Okay, but we got through them. So the cards, as you can see, there's a few that are nerfed, but otherwise it's basically the same as it's been since the 2022 version, which just had some minor tweaks from the 2021 version. So yeah, players who branch out may never realize that difference unless they happen to look at the old version or hear from all of you. But I would just say this so far, I mean, it's weird that it shows red dice everywhere and then you get these white dice with red pips. Very, very small nitpick. I would have preferred, like I said, to have that. Put that in, it's perfect. It's fine for what it is. I mean, wouldn't you rather have all plastic miniatures, but try cramming them all into this box. I mean, this box is big and heavy. For 50 bucks, I'd say it's a pretty good buy, especially if you've never played HeroQuest before. But even if you have, I mean, there's a lot of new content in here that you could still enjoy and easily adapt with the game system you already have. So you've got plastic monsters to use. Great. You know, you've got the fancier board. But if this gets more people into HeroQuest, it's well worthwhile. So I'm doing my part. I bought a copy, and I'm sure I'll play it. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these punch-out minis at all, just because, I mean, they're kind of like a pale reflection of the actual thing. I mean, I guess they kind of look cool, but it's kind of like they just shrunk the card down and asked you to cut it out. That nice cardboard smell. Always got to smell your board games and weird everybody out. All right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you watched it on super speed, so you got through it quickly. So find yourself first light, but don't be surprised if you're buying it this week or this month if you have to ask for them to get you a copy from the back. Close your boxes very slowly because they trap lots of air. Yeah, it definitely feels heavier than your regular expansion, but of course there's extra tile sheets in there. Punching some of that up will make it a little lighter. So great job to Avalon Hill on this release. And I can't wait to see other expansions on the store shelves, just like the 90s.